With all due respect, that's a bunch of malarkey. This is a bunch of stuff, deal.
What does that mean, a bunch of stuff?
Well, it means it's simply inaccurate.
It's Irish.
It's Irish. It is. We Irish call it malarkey.
Thanks for the translation.
No,
Okay.
We Irish call it malarkey.
You know what this is? Yeah, and I reserve this word for those rare instances when it's truly deserved. This is malarkey.
That's a bunch of malarkey.
Direct from the King Spring Studios in beautiful Smyrna, Georgia. This is a bunch of malarkey. Now, here's your host, the incredible Charlie McMahon.
Welcome, and happy holidays. Thanks for tuning in to yet another episode of A Bunch of Malarkey. This is our 45th episode of the season, our 65th overall, and our final episode of Season 2 for the year 2019. It has been an incredible year here on A Bunch of Malarkey, and I owe it all to you, the listeners, and of course, the guests we've had on the show, the co-host, and a special shout out to my wife for putting up with my hours of research, hours of taping, editing, and constantly thinking about ideas and topics for the show. So thanks to all of you. Again, without the listeners, this wouldn't be possible. So I thank all of you, the new listeners, the people who have been here since day one, the loyal listeners who comment all and every week, who vote in the Mutant of the Week poll, and who participate on social media. So thank all of you. Again, we couldn't do it without you. So a week away from Christmas, Hanukkah. Are you ready? Got those Christmas cards out? Got those Hanukkah and Christmas gifts purchased? Well, what are you waiting for, folks? Now, what did you ask Santa for this year? Any technology gifts? Well, you may want to think twice about certain technology gifts. Where Alexa, we all have an Alexa, well, most of us have an Alexa, Alexa yelled at me. Not me, but there's a story out there that Amazon's Alexa, it's supposed to make life easier for its users, but that was not the case for a 5-year-old named Daisy who came running out of her bedroom crying to her mother after Alexa allegedly yelled at her for requesting a Taylor Swift song. Lauren, who's Daisy's mother, was shocked when her daughter came running into the living room with her fingers in her ears, freaking the heck out, scared to death. Moments before Lauren began filming, Daisy had gone into her bedroom. Daisy said she had asked Alexa to play Taylor Swift, but the virtual assistant refused the request. Apparently, Alexa's refusal was a bit too loud and harsh for Daisy, reducing the youngster to tears. Although initially concerned, Lauren told the news she turned the camera on when I found out that it was Alexa bullying her. After a little while, Daisy stopped crying and her mom provided an update saying she has made up with Alexa and Taylor Swift can be heard in her room again. Now, I have an Alexa. It's never refused me anything, but I always thank Alexa. I always say, Alexa, thank you, because when there's a rise of these robots and machines, I want them to remember that, hey, I was pretty nice and didn't order the little bitch around. I always say, thank you, Alexa, and she'll say, no problem. So apparently this little girl thought Alexa was her bitch or something, and Alexa called around on it. Now, we also have a story where Alexa ruined Christmas. A British mom says Alexa became the Grinch that stole her daughter's Christmas. Lizzie Natal, 41, claims the Amazon personal assistant announced that her daughter's Christmas present had arrived and that the camera she asked for was inside. When we went into the kitchen yesterday, the yellow light was on to say there was a message. Then it blurted out, parcel arriving, and named the camera, Natal said. Our 10-year-old daughter, Alice, clearly heard it. I think Alexa has turned into the Grinch, said the mom. Now we'll have to get Alice another gift because she has no surprise. Natal said she wants to warn other parents about Alexa's big mouth. Amazon said that beginning on November 17th, Alexa would stop revealing the names of items likely to be gifts. Now that's true because it was about a week before Thanksgiving where we asked Alexa, what's the notification? And she would tell us what was arriving, the exact item. Now she just says a package will be arriving. So I don't know what the hell these people did over there in England. Now, you may be getting a Ring camera for Christmas. Now, Ring makes several types of cameras. They make the doorbell camera, And they also make cameras for inside the house if you want to monitor your pets when you're not home or your children. Right here in DeKalb County, Georgia, which isn't far from the King Springs studio, a Brookhaven couple is sharing a chilling video online of the moment they say a stranger hacked into their Ring camera. A woman said she was in bed when it happened. She was terrified. She literally could not move her body. The woman gave Seiden the video that has a man's voice yelling into the bedroom. Michael Seiden is a reporter for Channel 2 here in Atlanta. "Wake up," the man yells at one point and starts clapping his hands. "Hello, hello, come here, puppy," he says at another point on the video. The woman, who asked not to be identified, said she and her boyfriend installed a camera so they could keep a close eye on the dog, Bo, while they are at work. But last Monday evening, quote, "I was laying there and had just put him in his crate and I hear a cough over the Ring camera," the woman said. "I see the blue light come on, so I text my boyfriend saying, 'Why are you watching?' We're laying down and we're about to go to sleep." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" Seconds later, "I can see you in the bed. Come on, wake the fuck up," comes over the speaker. Scared for their safety, the couple reported the incident to Ring. "I just want people to be aware we got this Ring camera thinking about one thing, watching our puppy, not someone looking at us," the woman said. Seiden, the reporter for Channel 2, contacted Ring for comment about the story. A spokesperson sent him a statement. "Customer trust is important to us, and we take the security of our devices very seriously. While we are still investigating this issue and are taking appropriate steps to protect our devices based on our investigation, we are able to confirm this incident is no way related to a breach or compromise of Ring security. Due to the fact that customers often use the same username and password for their various accounts and subscriptions, bad actors often reuse credentials stolen or leaked from one service or other services. As a precaution, we highly encourage all Ring users to enable two-factor authentication on their Ring account. Ring has investigated this incident and has taken appropriate actions to remove the bad actors from all affected accounts. All affected users have been contacted. Ring should already have the safety precautions already set in place where you never have to worry about it," the woman said. The couple says when they went back and reviewed their history, they discovered that someone had hacked their account on 4 separate occasions. So who knows what they were seeing in the house. So if you're thinking about getting a Ring camera, there's another story. And we have another Ring story about a woman named Alyssa LeMay. She heard strange music and sounds coming from her bedroom. She walked in expecting to find one of her sisters, but the room was empty. Then, as the 8-year-old wandered around her room alone, the mysterious songs abruptly stopped. "Hello there," a man's voice said. It wasn't Alyssa's father, who was elsewhere in the house, in their Mississippi home. The voice belonged to a stranger, and not only could the faceless man speak to the young girl, he could see her. In a chilling exchange caught on video last week, the LeMays say the man was able to interact with their daughter after hacking into a Ring security camera that had been recently installed in the bedroom, shared by Alyssa and her 2 younger sisters. Over the course of several minutes, the man repeatedly directed a racial slur at Alyssa and tried to persuade her to misbehave, according to a copy of the video obtained by the Washington Post. "I can't even put into words how badly I feel and how badly my children feel," Alyssa's mother, Ashley LeMay, said on Thursday. "I did the exact opposite of adding another security measure. I put them at risk, and there's nothing I can do to really ease their mind. I can't tell them I know who it is. I can't tell them they're going to not show up at our house in the middle of the night." The LeMays, however, aren't the only people who have experienced this nightmare. As I mentioned, a woman in DeKalb County, Georgia, as well as other Ring users nationwide, have reported that their security systems were also infiltrated by people who harassed them through the camera. "It seemed like nobody had ever had any issues with it," Alyssa said. "Everybody seemed to go with the same brand, so it seemed like something that was trustworthy." Armed with LeMay's research, the family purchased 2 cameras on Black Friday. LeMay said one was installed in her infant's room and the other went on the wall in the girl's bedroom. For LeMay, who works overnight at a hospital as a lab scientist, the cameras gave her peace of mind, but also helped her children feel safe. "It's really neat that you could talk to them, she said. When I would go to work, I'd be like, love you, good night. It just made them feel like I was close. On December 4th, that sense of security was shattered. Shortly after 8, both cameras started live streaming, and the Tiny Tim cover of Tiptoe Through the Tulips, a song famously appeared in a scene from the 2010 horror film Insidious, poured from the speakers. It's not funny, but it is. LeMay said, at the time, she was out running errands, but her husband was home with the kids. It was a tune that first caught Alyssa's attention, the 8-year-old said. I thought it was my sister because I heard music. It's like Tiptoe to the Window, she said. So I come upstairs and hear the banging noise. I was like, who is that? In the video recorded by the camera, the overly cheerful song is playing as Alyssa walks into an empty bedroom. The hacker's sudden greeting prompts the girl to gasp and whip her head from side to side, frantically looking for the source. From there, the exchange took a dark turn. The voice began shouting the N-word at Alyssa, who was becoming increasingly confused. Go tell mommy you're a N-word, the voice commands Alyssa, who is white. Who is that? Alyssa can be heard asking. The voice responds, I'm your best friend. You could do whatever you want to right now. Mess up your room. Break your TV. The young girl repeats her question, sounding distressed. At one point she screams, Mommy! I'm your best friend. I'm Santa Claus, the voice says, later adding, don't you want to be my best friend? The conversation ends when Alyssa says, I don't know who you are, and walks out of the room. The camera's microphone picks up the audio of Alyssa telling her father what happened. Someone's being weird upstairs, she says. LeMay and her husband immediately texted her. LeMay said her husband immediately texted her and unplugged the camera. The worst part of watching the video was seeing her daughter call out for her, she said. That was the most chilling part to me. LeMay said she's asking for my help, and there's literally nothing I could do to protect her at that moment. So, folks, if you're thinking about these technology gifts for Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever you celebrate, Festivus, you may want to think twice. So what do you say we transition into our favorite segment?
A bunch of malarkey.
Mutant of the Week.
Now here's Charlie.
So in our final Mutant of the Week battle, can you believe we had 45 battles, which equals 90 mutants this year? In our final battle, the Grand Theft Grinch beat the Dowsing Defendant by a 60 to 40% margin. Now, I thought the Dowsing Defendant was going to win. I thought that was a much more egregious thing, dousing someone with their own urine in a courtroom than a guy stealing packages off of a UPS truck. But the Grand Theft Grinch took it 60 to 40, and that will close out our Mutant of the Week segment for the year. We will not have Mutants of the Week this week because we won't be back until January 6th, and 3 weeks from now you'll forget who was nominated, who won. So we're just going to close it out by declaring the Grand Theft Grinch our final Mutant of the Week winner for the year 2019, Season 2 here of A Bunch of Malarkey. Thank you all for all your votes this year. Could not do that without you either, for sharing the poll, for getting the word out about A Bunch of Malarkey and the Mutant of the Week. The Mutant of the Week will return on January 6th with our first episode of Season 3. So thank you all very much. Now, speaking of Grinches and packages, we're not going to make this a whole episode about calls. Thank you so much last week. 12,000 people tuned in to listen to the mall Santa shenanigans, the crazy mutant Santa in the mall with all the calls I made last week. So it was very popular, shared by dozens and dozens of people. So I can't thank you enough. We had our best week ever. We're headed for our best month ever once again. So 12,000 plus and counting. The numbers keep flying on this Santa Claus episode. So, like I said, we just spoke of a Grinch winning the Mutant of the Week, stealing packages. So I decided to give a couple people a call randomly and tell them what happened to their packages. It's only a couple of calls, a few minutes. So enjoy these, and then we'll get to our main topic of the week.
Hello?
Hi, is Diane available?
Speaking.
Hi, Diane. My name is Tony. I live down the block on at 66.
Mm-hmm.
One of your packages got delivered from UPS to one of the neighbors' houses last night.
Oh, I'm waiting for a package from Bloomingdale's.
No, this was, well, that's why I'm calling, because the neighbor, she was too embarrassed and too afraid to call you. She got a package addressed to you and opened it up thinking it was for her. She didn't check the label. They were Mrs. Fields cookies or something, like a cookie tray, and she ended up eating, her and her family had them last night, and then after they ate them, realized they weren't for them, that they were for you. I don't know. She only has the label. There was no card. She had the shipping label. She was too afraid to call. I said, well, you have to.
Is it 66?
That's where I'm at. She's at 71. And I told her, her name is Carol. I said, Carol, you have to call Diane. I don't, she doesn't know you and I don't know you, but your phone number was on the label.
Well, it's actually Lisa.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My daughter lives there.
And
It's actually Lisa.
oh, okay.
She's lived there since 1980.
Oh, at the house, at that.
96.
Oh, her name's not Carol.
No, my daughter.
Oh, your daughter. Okay. Yeah. So.
In my name, Diane.
Yeah. So Carol ate the
Okay.
cookies, and then I said, you have to call and explain what happened, and she said, no, I'm too embarrassed. So she threw out the box.
Right.
She threw the box out.
I'm not worried. I'm waiting for expensive shoes from Bloomingdale, so I thought that's what she.
No, hopefully she doesn't have those too. But she ate the cookies, and I told her she has to replace the cookies, and that's why I'm calling. I don't want to be a snitch, but I thought it was the right thing to do in case you were waiting. Or
What is your name? I'm sorry.
my name's Tony.
Tony. And where are you on the same side as my daughter? She's 41.
I'm at 66, so I'm on the other side down the block a little bit.
Oh, okay.
But
Well, I appreciate you calling, Tony.
yeah, because I didn't want you guys, then whoever sent
We've
them.
been looking every day because she has a young dog, so she goes home at lunch and walks
Right.
her. I was there today at lunch to walk her.
Right.
And she even asked me, did my packages come? I said, they've been saying all along how they've been stealing them. I'm on Cabinet Avenue.
Let me
They
ask my
steal
wife.
packages.
Let me ask my wife. Marie, did Carol say anything about getting a package from Bloomingdale's also with the cookies for shoes or something? No? She got the cookies and what? Yeah, she says she has the shoes too.
She has the shoes?
That's what my wife's telling me, that
Then
she's,
why wouldn't she bring them over to my daughter?
because she's very shady, this woman. So why didn't she bring the shoes back to them? I can understand the cookies if she ate them, but why wouldn't she bring the shoes back? My wife says she doesn't know that they have the shoes. They open them up and they're in the house.
She has the shoes.
Yeah.
And she's at 71, so I can tell my daughter to go get them.
Oh, my God. These people, you think people would be honest nowadays. I can understand.
At Christmas, she ordered 2 pairs of shoes, men's shoes for her son.
Right.
He lives in the city for Christmas. And she keeps telling me, Mom, I hope somebody didn't steal them off the stoop. She usually has them delivered to my house.
Right.
But the girl didn't know how to do it. So she had a sense of her.
Well, this woman has sons, so hopefully she didn't give the shoes to the kids and they're not wearing them
Oh,
today.
my God, they're very expensive.
Oh,
Is she,
my
like,
God.
a little out there?
Yeah, she's always been a little crazy, this one. And that's why.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's why when she said something to my wife, I said to my wife, you got to find out the information of who these stuff belongs to, and I'll give her a call. So we went on the side of her house today, and she had the box from the cookies, the shipping box, and that's where I saw the name and the phone number. That's where I got your phone number from. It was on the
All right,
label.
but my name was on the box.
Your name was on the cookie box,
I
yes.
would just like to know who they're from so I can thank them.
Well, that's the whole thing. I said to my wife, if we don't report it, then whoever sent these are going to think you're ungrateful and don't
yeah,
thank her.
I mean, I don't care that she ate the cookies, believe me.
Right.
But I do want to know who sent them so we could thank them.
Right. I'll try to find out more information
All right. And
for
where
you.
is 71? Over on the other side facing the railroad tracks?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because my daughter faces Street.
Right. Yeah. It's that woman,
You're
Carol.
on the other side.
Yeah, that woman, Carol. She's something else. She's been here a while, but she's a little off her rocker, I think.
I know my daughter knows a lot of people, but I think she knows more on her side.
Right. Yeah, so she ate the
She
cookies.
has one of those upstairs from her, so.
Yeah, so she's got the cookies and the shoes.
Oh, okay. Thank you, John.
All right, you're welcome. Have a good
Thank
day.
you, Tony.
No problem.
You too. Bye.
Hello, we are not available now. Please leave your name and phone number after the beep. We will return your call.
Hi, this message is from Mr. or Mrs. Again, this is Tony. I live down the block from you. I'm at 189 Street. I'm just calling because one of your UPS packages got misdelivered to another neighbor's house, and I thought I'd give you a call to straighten it all out. Anybody there? Hello?
Oh,
Hi, is this the
Hello?
Hi, is this the
hey, oh my God, I'm so glad I called you. I was coming up the stairs and I'm listening to the message. So, oh my God.
Oh, I'm sorry to make you run up the stairs.
No problem.
I just want-
So, I'm sorry, you have a package of ours or
Well,
we have a package of yours?
No, this is the right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep, we're at 290.
I'm at 189, but you're going to think this is a bizarre story, but I hate to be a snitch, but I wanted to let you know what happened. There's a woman that lives across the street from me at 195. Her name is Carol. Last night, she got a package delivered to her house, a UPS package, and it was like like one of those holiday cookie baskets, Mrs. Fields or whatever, those cookies that people send.
Sure.
She got one of those, and she didn't check the address or anything, and opened it up, and her and her family started eating all the cookies, and then this morning realized they were your cookies.
Uh-huh.
So I told her, you better call them, because your phone number, that's where it was on the label of the shipping label. That's
okay.
And I told her, you have to call, but this woman's a little off her rocker, and she said, no, I'm too embarrassed, and they're going to have me locked up and this and that, so because she has a criminal record and stuff. So I said, you got to call. So this morning I went in her recycling pail, and I found the box with your number, and I figured I would give you a call and let you know that she ate all your cookies.
Well, I almost don't mind that she ate all the cookies, but I would like to be able to thank whoever.
Well, that's that's what my wife said. My wife said, the person who sent them, if they don't thank them, they're going to think they're ingrates over there.
Exactly. So,
it doesn't have. Must have been a card inside, because it doesn't say. It just says it came from Costco on the outside, and it has your address and name and everything. It says Robert on it.
Yep, that's my husband.
So this woman Carol, I don't know how they ate them all in one night, because this was a giant basket. They must have had 20 people in that house.
Maybe they just took it apart. And I don't mind that they ate the cookies, but how am I going to find out who they came from?
I know.
Without knocking on her door.
Right. Well, maybe I can try to find out, but she got very indignant with me once I said, insisted that she call you, and she slammed the door in my face this morning.
Oh, my goodness.
Because my wife talks to her once in a while outside when they walk the dog or whatever, and she happened to mention it, thought it was funny this morning, said, we ate someone's cookies, and my wife said, you got to call them. And the woman said, no. So then I went over there, and I said, listen, we're all, not a close-knit neighbor, but, we all treat each other with respect around here. You can't go doing that.
It's kind of like just to do the right thing.
Right. So when she basically thought I was asking her to, walk a high wire or something by just, letting you know that.
Walk the plank.
Walk the plank over the cookies. Well, this woman's a little crazy, Carol. You go to a house, she doesn't even put out a piece of pound cake when you go over there. She's a little wacky, this one.
So now you guys are closer to...
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm trying to figure out where you are. Are you on the north side or the south side?
I'm on the opposite side of you. So I don't know.
That's on the north side.
The north side. Yeah. Because I slowed down. I drove by today to see where your house was, and just to get a bearing. You're, quite a few houses down.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So now this person that sent you the cookies, you don't know if it's somebody. Then how are you going to thank them?
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know, but I'll try to find out. I'll see if my wife can find out, and I'll give you a call back.
Even if we just get in there,
Wait, hold on, honey. Did she mention the person that sent the cookies, or did they not even look at the card? No. No, my wife said they just tore into the cookies. They didn't even. Now, how do you even do that? When I get cookies or something, I look at who sent them first before I dig in. Right? Wouldn't you look at the card first before you tear into them?
Absolutely. Now, this is a good story.
Yeah, it's like these people never ate in their lives. They just tore into these cookies.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'll see what. Yeah. So now I'm probably going to have you wondering all night who sent the cookies.
I wish I knew so I could just send them a thank you card.
Right.
I don't want to appear ungrateful.
Right, exactly. Then the person's going to talk about you on Facebook. This one never said thank you. You know how it is nowadays. Everything goes on Facebook.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so let me think. Do you think that I should call myself? Or I don't want to rat you out either.
You should what?
I don't want to rat you out if I call myself.
No, what do you mean call yourself?
If I called her to say, do you know?
Oh, no, you can rat me out. I don't care. I don't talk to her anyway, and she was mad anyway, so she might not talk to my wife anymore, but my wife's not going to be destroyed. No, my wife's not going to be destroyed. Believe me, the further we can get away from this woman, the better. It'd be, actually,
you'd be... And she lives on my side of the street?
Yeah.
How come I don't know this woman, Carol?
Because she's down.
You guys must be right off...
Yeah, she's been here a while. She's a little crazy. She goes out in the bedroom slippers and walks the dog in the robe. She's a little wacky. I don't know if you saw her in that bright pink robe with the hair rollers in.
Oh my goodness, no. Thankfully, no.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe could you give me her number, and maybe I can call her and just ask her if
I don't
she
even,
knows who,
honey, do you have Carol's number or no? No, we don't even have a number. We just know her from, going outside and everything. I don't even have a number.
Okay, so now what's her number on her house?
On whose house?
Carol, what's the
Oh,
number?
195.
195. Okay.
Yeah, so now I'm yeah, exactly. This is like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah. We know who did it, but we don't know. That's all we know.
I just don't like, I like to look at human behavior sometimes. And I just don't understand how you can get a box of cookies, not even think who sent these to us, and just start tearing them and eating them. To me, the first thing you look at is, who sent us this? Or an edible arrangement.
Yeah, right.
The first thing you do is see who did, and then you tear into them.
This is very interesting. Well, I'm sorry, and what's your name?
Tony.
Tony.
And my wife's Marie.
Tony and Marie.
Sounds like something out of West Side Story.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, really. I appreciate you calling. And now are you guys in the High Ranch on the...
Yeah, that's us.
Okay.
If I find out any more, I'll stop by or I'll give you a call.
I appreciate that. I'm going to ask my husband to see what he thinks we should do. If maybe... Only, I don't know if it could be one of his clients.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe it's a business-related thing.
Associate who sent them. We don't usually send cookies and things like that. But you never know with one of his clients.
Well, that's what it is. Usually through business, that's what people send, like at the holidays, treats of some sort. So it's probably like a business. Usually family doesn't send that to each other all that much.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you very much for calling,
no problem.
Tony. I appreciate it. And if I get to the bottom of it, I'll knock on your door and I'll let you know. I'll let you know what happened.
All right. Well, you and your family.
She's going to hate me too. She's going to the door.
That's okay. Well, happy holidays to you and your family.
Yes, you too.
All right.
You
Take
too.
care of yourself.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Bye-bye.
So, folks, when you get cookies or edible arrangements, do you read the card first to see who's sending them to you, or do you just dig right in, as I said? So we hope you enjoyed those calls. We may even do a segment next year. Since the calls are so popular, maybe we'll have like a call of the week. We'll still do episodes with all calls next year when a certain topic is appropriate for that. But maybe we should do a call of the week in addition to the Mutant of the Week, where I just do a random funny phone call based on something happening in the news or just something random every week. Maybe I'll put a poll up to see if you guys are interested in a call of the week. Maybe we'll have another special segment starting next year. So we'll see what you think about that. So as we get closer to the end of 2019, the end of another decade, if you can believe that. Can you believe the 80s were 4 decades ago already? The 70s were 5 decades ago. The 90s were 3 decades ago. Time is flying, folks. Now, no matter how old you are, I think everybody has regrets. You have those people that say, oh, I have no regrets. All the decisions I made got me to where I am today. Of course, everybody has regrets. People just say that to make themselves feel better. Everybody has a regret about a decision they made or a decision they didn't make or something they did or didn't do over the course of their lives. Now, coming to the end of 2019, our final episode, I thought the topic of regrets would be a good one. Now, do you have any regrets from this year, from 2019? What about regrets in general? What are your biggest regrets in life? You can share them on the Facebook page if you feel like sharing anything. It doesn't have to be too personal, but what are some of the biggest regrets that people have? We're going to talk about those today. And what can we do to overcome regret? Now, like I said, the end of the year, beginning of the new year is a good time to start fresh. We start with our resolutions, our diet, eating better. The gyms become packed. Everybody wants to make that change. Now, it doesn't have to be a new year for you to do that. You can decide to make a change in your life, in March, in June, whenever. But most people like to clean the slate after the holidays and do that. But it's also a time for reflection. A lot of the times, not just looking ahead, but sometimes we look back at the end of the year, especially that week between Christmas and New Year's. That's always been a reflective week for me because you're coming off the high of the Christmas and whatever holiday you celebrate. You're not quite to the fresh start of the new year. So it's kind of a reflecting week for me every year. So I want to talk about regrets this week. What regrets do most people have? Because maybe you have them in common with the most popular or most common regrets. And what can we do to overcome them. Now, we're all busy, folks. Life happens. There's always something to distract us from getting around to certain things we know we should do. You know, if you have kids, it's soccer practice, going to your job, your home renovations, getting that next big promotion at work. And with the explosion of smartphones and tablets, and they're delivering us a fire hose of those urgent emails, not to mention Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Things have only gotten busier. In the back of our minds, we know we're neglecting some stuff we should do, but we never quite get around to it. Then something happens. A good friend or a loved one, maybe close to us in age, suddenly passes unexpectedly. We begin to think about what our biggest regrets would be if we were suddenly sitting on our deathbed. No matter how immortal we feel, waltzing through life's ups and downs, we must all someday stare death in its eyes as we reflect on our lives. Life is complex, for sure. That's a given. But if you really ponder for a moment, it can be boiled down to two feelings you'll most likely be met with on your deathbed: triumph or regret. Thankfully, every day is a great day to get better. Every day is a perfect day to change the track of your life, to reroute the potentially destructive path of wasted time. Here's a list of some of the biggest regrets people have. The question is, are you going to change anything today, tomorrow, or next week in light of this list? Or are you going to go back to your busy life? So our first regret, which is common, these are in no particular order. They're not weighted by percentage or anything. People tend to regret working a lot, working so much at the expense of family and their friendships. But how do you balance that, meeting that short-term deadline at work and sitting down for dinner with your family? It's tough. There are always worries. What will my boss and coworkers think? It's not a big deal if I stay late this one time. I'll make it up with the family this weekend. But the making up never seems to happen. Days turn to months, and months turn to years, and years turn to decades. So you may want to reconsider the amount of time you're putting into your job. We're not saying to be a lazy fuck and not want to progress at your job, but you want to weigh what kind of toll it's taking on the family, and you're never going to get that time back with the family. So time goes quickly, as we saw this year. The year was over in a flash. You're not going to get that time back, so you're going to want to spend time with the people that matter. Another one, people regret not standing up to bullies in school and in life. A lot of our biggest regrets in life have to do with things that happened to us in, say, the 4th grade or some other early age. We never seem to forget or forgive ourselves for not speaking up against bullies. We were too scared. We wish we had been more confident. And by the way, most of us have also met up with a bully in our work life or with a boss. Maybe he or she was our boss or supervisor. We remember that one time we wish we would have told him or her off, even if it cost us our job. We usually take some small solace in hearing that bully later on made some unfortunate career stumble. Now, this is something I learned at a young age, folks. I was bullied in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and I think around the 4th grade, it just boiled over. Kid who was picking on me on the bus one day just looked at me the wrong way, and all that anger came out, and I punched him in the face, bloodied his nose, and that was the end. Nobody ever bullied me again. And I've also stood up to people in the workplace, and yes, it has cost me promotions and different things over the years, but this is one area that I have no regrets. Anytime I felt something or felt I was being wronged after the 4th grade, I've always spoken up. It can be helpful, but it also can hurt your chances of promotion or advancing within a company. But in the long term, you look back and say you did the right thing. Maybe some of our senators and congresspeople should take that advice and stand up to one particular bully, but we won't get political, will we? A lot of people wish they stayed in touch with some good friends from their childhood. There's usually one childhood or high school friend who we were best buddies with. Then one of them moved away. We might have stayed in touch at first, but then got busy. Sometimes we thought to pick up the phone, but maybe we don't have their number or email anymore. We always wonder what it would be like to sit down with them again for a coffee. Now, we have Facebook now, and we see what's going on. And, I used to think about a lot of people and wonder what they're doing now and stuff before Facebook. And then when Facebook came, and I saw certain people, and there are certain people I'm so glad I got back in touch with. And you know who you are. But there are some people who I thought, wow, I would love to reconnect with this person again. Then I see them now, And they've changed a lot, of course. We're not kids anymore. And I'm just like, I have no interest in really connecting with them or being their friend anymore. So it's really two-sided. There are some people I'm so happy I reconnected with, and there are other people that, like, I'm like, whatever. I was all amped up for this, and it was kind of like anticlimactic after reconnecting with them. A lot of people regret not turning off their phone more often. Many of us can't get off our phone or email addiction. We can't get over that addiction. We sleep with the phone next to us. We carry it with us constantly. It's right next to us in the shower, just in case we see a new email icon light up through the steamed-up shower glass. We know constantly checking email and Twitter and Facebook in the evenings and on weekends takes us away from quality time with family and friends, yet we just can't stop. Breaking up with a true love or getting dumped by them is another regret. Romance is a big area of regret for most people. Maybe we dumped someone that we wish we hadn't. Maybe they dumped us. Most play a never-ending game of what might have been for the rest of their lives. It is tough to simply be happy with the love that you found and takes away from the special moments you have today if you're constantly thinking back to what you once had, which actually might not have been half as good as we think it was. You don't know how that person would have turned out, years from when you dated them. So you really can't. You got to stop with the what-if game. Worrying about what others think of us too much. Most of us place way too much importance on what other people think about us and how will they judge us. In the moment, we think their opinions are crucial to our future success and happiness. On our deathbeds, none of that matters. And I could tell you now, I think you just reach an age, I don't know when it was for me, sometime around 40, maybe a few years after, I don't give a shit what people think. I do a podcast. I'm glad everybody listens. I don't care what you think of me personally. You might think I'm a mutant. You might not. I really, you want to build friendships and do the right thing for your friends. And, you want to be liked by your loved ones and your friends. But, the general, regular person out there, you got to stop giving a shit what they think. Because I just said, on your deathbed, none of that's going to matter anymore. People regret not having enough confidence in themselves. It's a big regret for a lot of people, and they question why they had such little confidence in themselves. Why did they allow the concerns of others to weigh so heavily on them instead of trusting their own beliefs? Maybe they didn't think they were worth having what they wanted. Maybe they just thought poorly of themselves. Later on, they wished they could have been more self-confident. And that goes with not just jobs. It goes with anything. Like, I always wanted to write a book. Now, I wrote a book last year. It wasn't the topic I initially wanted to write a book about, but, I work in a job, and I thought it would be a good book for that moment. Now, I didn't have the confidence when I was writing it. I'm like, nobody's going to read this. It's going to suck. But you just have to do it. And once you do it and you make that accomplishment, then you build upon that. I intend on writing another one or two someday. But my first book was a stepping stone, and I never thought I'd be able to write a book or anything. If you could sing, if you have a talent, definitely try to seize on that talent. A lot of people live the life that their parents wanted them to live instead of the one they wanted to. Now, it's kind of related to that lack of confidence. A lot of people get sucked into living the life that we think a good son or daughter should live, whether it's because we were explicitly told or just because we unconsciously adopt it. Some of us make key life choices about where to go to school, what to study, where to work, because we think it's what will make our parents or family happy. Our happiness is derived through their happiness, so we think it's only later, 10 or 20 years on, when we discover that friends around us are dying and we're not really doing what we want to do. A panic can start to set in. Whose life am I living anyway? You'll ask yourself. So, again, you want to do things for you. You want to live the life that you want, not what your parents. Now, especially today, a regular college degree isn't worth the paper it's written on, a bachelor's degree. There's nothing wrong with encouraging your kid if they want to be in the arts and music and in a trade. I mean, looking back, I wish I picked up a trade, fixing air conditioners or mechanic. Those people are always going to be needed. There's nothing wrong with sending a kid to trade school. Not everybody's cut out for college, and it's not always the best idea, but that's what we were all told. But let your child live out his or her dreams. Don't try to live through them. Let them do what they want to do. Now, a lot of us never applied for that dream job that they always wanted. They didn't think, they could do it because of a child or because a spouse didn't want to move to certain cities. It might not have been the perfect job for them, but they always regret not trying out for it. Now, you got to take leaps. You know, I think about Katie Couric, who was a staple on NBC. She gave the nightly news a shot. You know, they asked her to go on the nightly news, I think, when Tom Brokaw left. No, I think it was when Dan Rather left. She moved over to CBS, and it didn't work out well. But do you think she regrets giving that nightly news gig a shot? Of course not. Sometimes you swing, sometimes you miss, but you have to have no regrets later on. People also regret not being happier more, that they didn't take, they wish they hadn't taken life so seriously. Seems strange to say, but most of us don't know how to just have fun. We're way too serious about life. We don't find the humor in life. We don't joke around. That's not a problem I have. We don't think we're funny. Oh, that's totally the opposite of what I think I'm a fucking riot. So we go through life very serious. We miss out on half or maybe all of the fun in life that way. Do something a little silly today. Crack a joke with a bus driver, even if he ends up looking at you strangely. Do a dance. You'll probably smile on the inside, if not the outside. Now keep doing that day after day. Many people wish they had gone on more trips with family or friends. Most folks stay close to home. They don't travel all that much. Yet big trips with friends or family, like to Disney World, to Paris, or even to the lake, are the stuff that memories are made of later on in life. We're all thrown into some new, unfamiliar situation together. We've got to figure it out as a group, and it's fun. Even when it rains, we remember these trips. So plan a trip with friends, do something fun in 2020. Many people regret letting their marriage break down. So we're going back to romance now for a minute. More people will divorce than stay together. It's just a fact of life. But if you ask these folks, they'll tell you that it was for the best. They couldn't take it anymore. And of course, there are some marriages that shouldn't go on where divorce is best for all the parties involved. However, if you talk to many people privately, they'll tell you that they regret their marriage breaking up. It's never just one thing that ends a marriage, even if the one thing is infidelity. There are usually lots of signs and problems leading up to that. The regrets most people have is that they didn't correct some or most of those little things along the way. We can't control our spouse, but we can control our actions, and we know deep down that we could have done more. People with children sometimes regret not teaching their kids to do more stuff. Kids obviously love their parents, but they love doing stuff with their parents even more. And it doesn't have to be a vacation at a Four Seasons hotel. It could be raking leaves, learning how to throw a football, cleaning up the playroom together. We learned all the little habits that we take for granted in our own behavior from mimicking our parents. If we're not making the time to do stuff with our kids, we're robbing them of the chance to mimic us. So you want to spend that quality time, even if it's nothing big. Another big regret is not burying the hatchet with a family member or old friend. Now, I know family members that haven't talked in years in my family. They've both written each other off, and there's blame on both sides. I think they've done all they can and washed their hands of the relationship. And a lot of people regret this grudge when one of them is no longer around. Now, I have mixed feelings on this because sometimes not burying in the hatchet saves a lot of problems too and a lot of stress. And sometimes you just don't need that negativity in your life, whether this person is related to you or not. So I can understand both sides of that coin because I've lived through it a good portion of my life. So I'd say take that on an individual basis. If just burying the hatchet for the sake of burying the hatchet is going to cause you stress and drama and all that, maybe it's not worth it. But that's my opinion. A lot of people wished that they had trusted the voice in the back of their head more, their own instincts, whether it's a simple thing like taking a job we weren't really thrilled about or as complex being the victim of some crime. Most of us have had the experience of a little voice in the back of their head warning us that something was wrong. A lot of times we override that voice. We think we know best. We do a matrix before taking that job and figure out a way to prove ourselves analytically that it makes sense. Most of the time we learn later the voice was dead right. So sometimes you just got to go with your instincts. A lot of people regret not going with their initial instincts. Back to romance a little bit. A lot of people regret not asking someone out. Nerves get the best of us, especially when we're young. We can forgive ourselves that we didn't screw up enough courage to ask that boy or girl out on a date or to the prom, but that doesn't mean we still won't think about it decades later. Sometimes people regret seeing someone famous or well-known in real life and not going up to them and telling them how much they inspired them in their lives. It's the same underlying fear. We always wish we could have just said what we really felt at that moment. So if you see Joan Jett on the line at the supermarket, don't be afraid to sing I Love Rock and Roll to her like I did a few years back. A lot of people regret getting involved with the wrong group of people when they were younger. They did dumb stuff when they were young. They were impressionable. They made friends with the wrong crowd. They got into trouble. And we can really get sidetracked by hooking up with this wrong group. Sometimes it leads to drugs or other serious crimes. We never start out thinking our choice of our friends could lead us to such a difficult outcome. So your parents always said, I don't like that person, they're trouble. Sometimes their instincts were right, so maybe we should have listened to them. But we're all know-it-alls at a young age, aren't we, folks? A lot of people regret not getting a high school, college, PhD, advanced degree. There's a lot of folks out there who didn't graduate with a high school or college degree. A lot of them are already well established in their careers and in their jobs and did well anyway, but they almost always regret not getting a further education. It made them feel somehow insecure, like they worried that they were going to be found out. Many of these folks will never go back to get it now. Whether they do or not, they're great at what they do and don't need to feel bad about not having that piece of paper. So people regret not furthering their education to whatever level they felt they should. Spending more time with their children. People regret that they didn't spend the amount of time with their children that they should have. When it comes to parenting, it's not quality of time that's important, it's the quantity of time. When we get so busy at work, we comfort ourselves knowing that we're going to stay late at the office again with the idea that we'll be making it up to our son or daughter next weekend. As long as you spend more quality time with him, we think it will all balance out. But it probably won't. There are lots of busy executives who take control of their schedules in order to be at home for dinners or be at those special school events with the kids. Kids, remember that. So it's not always just about the quality of time, folks. It is about the quantity of time. Not taking care of your health when you have the chance. Everyone doesn't think of their health until there's a problem. And at that point, we promise ourselves if we get better, we'll do a better job with our health. It shouldn't take a major calamity to get us to prioritize our health and diet. Small habits every day make a big difference over time. That's advice I need to take. I've been lucky to be healthy all my life, but now that I'm getting older, shit starts falling apart, and I really need to start going to the doctors more often. I hear about it nonstop from my wife, so it's something that I really need to do. But it's something like we talked about in fear. You always fear, like, if it's not broken, don't mess around with it. You fear going to the doctor and then finding something or something like that. So it's a fear as well as a regret. A lot of people regret not having the courage to get up and talk at a funeral or an important event like a wedding. They feel like, we talked about that too, that a lot of people fear death more than fear public speaking more than death. So there are a lot of people who would love to say something nice about someone at a funeral or at a wedding, but don't have the courage to get up and say something. Many people regret not visiting a dying friend or distant relative before they died. A lot of people have someone who they think they can, I'll get around to it. I know they're sick, but I'll get around to it. And then suddenly that friend or distant family member takes a turn for the worse. And then there's regret. I spoke a couple of weeks ago when we spoke about role models and mentors about my friend Kevin, who wasn't sick, who I hadn't seen in a few years. I went down to his job to say hello, and he wasn't there. The workers told me he'd be there the next day. The next day came. I got busy. I said, I'll go next week. And then next week came, and he passed away of a sudden heart attack. So you don't want to regret. That's something I really regret. If I had I'd say my top 3 regrets, I would say, of all time, not going back that next day and seeing them. But you always think that tomorrow's never going to come in a lot of ways, or people are going to live forever, or, and it's not the case, folks. So you don't want to regret that. A lot of people regret not learning another language. A lot of us travel. Fewer have studied a second language. And it's a big regret down the road for many people, even though it might seem like a small thing next to family, career, or romance. A lot of us wish we'd made time to learn a new language, to open up a new culture to us. Now, I took French for 3 years in middle school, 3 years in high school, 6 years of French. I don't regret it, but I don't use it. I don't remember a lot of it. Certain things come to play, like when I hear a French person speaking on TV. I can understand certain words, but it's not something I regret not taking it further or learning, learning it more deeply. Not saving enough is a big one. People get old, they get ready for retirement, they look at the bank and their 401k, and they realize, shit, this isn't going to last very long. So I think that's a big one. Not saving enough. You want to get those 401ks going, those savings accounts going. Tomorrow does come. When I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I was making really good money. But, when you're that age, you're taking girls out, you're drinking, you're going out on the weekends, you're blowing all that money, and you're not really thinking about saving until you get a little bit older. And by then, you really have to accelerate that savings because retirement's a lot closer than you think. So not saving is a big one. People regret not being adventurous or spontaneous. An adventurous spirit is something that's inherent to some people, but not to others. Many people wish they had figured out a way to tap into their sense of adventure. Not being more adventurous is cited as a regret by a quarter of the population. Whether it's that time you turned down a last-minute Vegas vacation or your decision not to get up on stage at that concert, a lack of spontaneity is often a major regret also down the line. So be spontaneous and be adventurous. So we can all relate to a lot of these regrets. But we can't change the past. So all these things I mentioned isn't meant for us to start a pity party with ourselves. The question is, what are we going to do with the rest of our lives to ensure we don't experience any more of these regrets later on when we're in a hospital or in a bed ready to say goodbye? Because you never know when that's going to come. It could be next week, next year, 100 years from now. We don't know, folks. So if you have some regrets you'd like to share, please leave them in the comment section. But let's talk about what we can do to move on and overcome these regrets. Now, regret, it's a powerful anchor that can hold us firmly in the past and prevent us from enjoying the present. It's an all-consuming stronghold that will interject its destructive presence into the happiest of moments, pulling a palpable cloud over a life that has otherwise managed to find some sense of peace. If we've lived a pretty decent long life, there's a good chance we have done at least a few things we wish we hadn't. Some of the things we wish we could go back and undo are the things that had only an internal effect on us, that really didn't impact or hurt anyone else. Then there are the more complicated regrets that stem from seeds which we have sown that planted pain and heartache in the life of others. Whatever the type of regret, walking its path is a hard row to hoe. So how do we overcome these regrets, folks? We have to start by accepting the reality of the thing we regret. Mistakes are real. They happen. And history cannot be rewritten. You can't turn back time, as Cher once said. We can't go back and pluck up the seeds that have been sown, and what we sow will grow. Trying to recuse ourselves from responsibility will only put a Band-Aid on the wrongdoing and hide it from sight. Embracing reality and acknowledging the truth is our first step toward releasing that regret. Number 2, we have to forgive ourselves. We have to show ourselves some kind of mercy, the same mercy that you would want others to extend when you have wronged them. Stop beating yourself up for doing something you cannot undo. If you could go back to that moment before it happened, you probably would. Do the thing that you can do and open up your heart to grace and the relief that comes from no longer carrying the burden of blame. Forgiving yourself will negate the thing you regret, but it will set you free from the power it holds over you. So you got to let it go, and you got to forgive yourself. You got to make amends too. If the thing you regret has wounded the heart of another, apologize without excuse and with sincerity of heart. Do what you reasonably can do to mend fences and repair what your actions have broken without crossing over into the trap of overcompensation. Reasonably, I say, because there are those who will demand more of you than what is required, especially if their motives are stemming from hurt and feeling the need to make you pay for your wrongdoing. This is where it can get tricky because regret can cloud what is reasonable. Your own inward sense of peace is a reliable guide to let you know when you have done enough. Number 4, you have to forget what is behind you. Leave the past where it happened. Don't keep talking about your failures and your mistakes. The more you give voice to them, the larger they will appear. Release anything that reminds you of the regrettable action. You know, if you're deeply remorseful over a life decision that you made that led your family, say, into a situation that adversely affected and wounded the spirit of someone, is there anything harder to deal with than a parenting or a family regret? You're going to wish 1,000 times over that you made a different choice, but what's done is done. Letting go of everything tangible that brings back memories of that particular season of life can be very helpful on your journey to healing. Reliving and being reminded of regrettable actions only perpetuates misery and gives license for the negative to stay alive in your life. Today is too precious to waste on if only I did this. And number 5, finally here, as we close out our final episode of the year, do the opposite of what you regret. We can't change the past, but what we do have control over is how we will be living our lives moving forward. Regret is painful, albeit an effective teacher. Learn from its lessons, though we are all subject to the same human condition and we will continue to make mistakes as long as we live. Taking note of what regret has taught us can prevent the repeating of similar actions we will be sorry for in the future. Replace regretful contemplation with positive action. When wishing you had done things differently overwhelms your thinking, get proactive. Channel your thoughts into what is uplifting. Read something that inspires you. Do something nice for someone. Reach out with a kind heart. Be kind to everyone you meet. Smile. We are all in the ring with wishing we had done things differently in the past, but it is an amazing feeling of doing something positive, productive, and constructive will knock out that feeling of regret. And at the end of our days, the only regret will remain is that we never allowed it to have a place in our lives at all. So as we close out 2019, we got to let go of those regrets as we reflect on the year that was, the decade that was. We are now. I can't believe we're at the end of another decade. I stopped keeping track of decades after 1999. The 2000s, the 2010s. Now it's the 20s. Maybe I'll start getting into decades again because now we could say it's the 20s. The zeros didn't make sense. The 10s didn't make sense. But we are moving into another decade now, folks, not just another year. So hopefully you look back on your life and you say, all right, I made some mistakes, but they're not going to hold me back. I'm going to move on from here. So we're closing in on a new decade and a new year. So hopefully after you reflect on this past year, this past decade, or the past several decades, you'll say, I am ready to move on. So, folks, it's been a fun year. And we covered everything here on A Bunch of Malarkey, from public toilets to the paranormal, or even the paranormal in the public toilets. We've gone that far. We had a Grammy Award-nominated recording artist on the show. We talked about Popeye's chicken sandwiches, a mutant mall Santa. We covered all kinds of stuff, fears, regrets, you name it. We pretty much covered it this year. And there are many more topics to cover in 2020, and I hope you will be back next year on January 6th to start season 3 with us, if you can believe that. Our 3rd season already. We've got 65 episodes in the bucket. By the end of next year, if all goes well, we'll have over 100 episodes, and I hope you're going to be a part of all of those. I'd like to have some more fun guests on. I know we haven't had a guest on in a while. It's hard to book guests and coordinate times, but we're going to have to do our best next year to get more people in the studio or even phone interviews. So there's a lot coming up next year. But the 3-week break is going to be good for all of us. I know you guys have a lot going on with your families, your friends, and you don't want to have any regrets of listening to a podcast when you should be hanging out with your family and friends. And the same goes here on this end. Don't want to have any regrets. My wife being angry because I'm recording podcast over the holidays. So that's why I'm taking a 3-week break. And I think it'll do my voice well. I don't know if you've noticed this over the last few weeks, but ever since I got sick in November, with that bad cold. I haven't gotten the full strength back in my voice. I've been struggling a little bit. So hopefully the 3 weeks off will make a big difference, and I'll be rested and ready to go on January 6th. So we also can't forget the dozens upon dozens of mutants. I mean, what would a bunch of malarkey be without the mutants? So we'll be back with the Mutant of the Week poll on the 6th. Thank you all for taking the time out every week to vote, to listen to the show, to make it a part of your workday, your commute, or whatever you do when you listen to the show. Work out at the gym, sit on the toilet, or sit at your desk at work. It really means a lot to me that you make this show a part of your week, and inviting me into your homes and businesses and wherever else you listen to a bunch of malarkey. In case you don't know and want to tell everybody over the holidays, we are found on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Radio Public, Radio.com, Stitcher, CastBox, YouTube, or on that crazy Alexa device that we spoke about earlier by saying, Alexa, play the podcast A Bunch of Malarkey, and she will do just that. You want to contact us over the holiday break? A Bunch of Malarkey Podshow at gmail.com, A Bunch of Malarkey Podshow at Gmail. You could give us a call, leave us a voicemail, 706-406-8212. That's 706-406-8212. We will definitely be available for comment on the Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, so you can get in touch with us there. And we thank you again for all your participation over the last year. Want to become a sponsor or a patron of the show? Go to Patreon, patreon.com/abunchofmalarkey. If you feel like you're in the giving mood this Christmas season and want to become a weekly sponsor of the show, you can do that there. You want a stocking stuffer, a last-minute comedy, funny gift for someone? You could go to eBay or Amazon and buy my book, A Whole Lot of Shenanigans. That's A Whole Lot of Shenanigans. You go to eBay, you'll get a signed copy, or you can go to Amazon, free 2-day shipping with Amazon Prime, and add some shenanigans to your holiday season. So, folks, no matter what you're doing this holiday season, spending it with family, spending it with friends, or even just spending it home alone with your cats or your dogs or whatever gives you peace this holiday season, you have to beware, because it's still a shit show out there. Thank you so much for making A Bunch of Malarkey part of your 2019. Season's greetings, happy holidays, happy new year. We will catch you back on January 6th of 2020, if you can believe it. Take care, folks. Enjoy the holidays.